Welcome.
Hi!
To Vampires and Mermaids. I'm Erin.
I'm Risha.
We are bringing two very different energy levels today.
I don't know why.
Because I am on my period and need a nap.
Oh, no, honey.
And I was like, why am I dying? Oh, that's why.
yeah,
That's
that'll do
okay.
it.
So I'm a little bit more deadpan today than typical.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah. You'll carry the show.
We'll both carry it in different ways.
Well, what do you have? I feel like you're very excited about this week.
So my vampire this week is the Pishtaco.
That you told me it sounded like a food. It does sound like fish taco.
There is also, if you're a Supernatural fan, there is an episode where they make fun of these and call them fish tacos. So
What season was that? Because I watched the first handful of those.
it was the one where it's like one of the family members is like accused of having like an eating disorder or something, and it's because like they actually need to eat like people, and yeah.
Okay, I definitely did not see that one. At least I don't remember it.
Well, it's a kind of vampire. It is Brazilian, but native to Peru. Like, it's considered Brazilian most of the time, but native to Peru. And in my handy dandy book, wasn't as handy dandy as it normally is. In the book, it said that there were few descriptions of it, other than it like operates at night, and initially doesn't go for blood. It likes to suck the fat and semen out first.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not that.
Also, it transforms into a bat. So I think this is the first one we've talked about that's specifically like the bat, like, I don't know, stereotype, is that the word? It enters the home and attaches to feet of the male or female victim. So it doesn't always have to be male.
So it has a foot thing and a semen thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It sucks out the fat and then the blood. That leaves the victim feeling weak the next morning. Yeah. Yeah. Which actually, so I was terrified of bats when I was little for a long time because, so actually it's because of The Littlest Vampire, the movie. There are like two movies in my youth that scared me when I was little to the point where I needed like the light on. And it was The Littlest Vampire and Scary Movie 3.
Oh.
Yeah. But The Littlest Vampire was terrified of like a bat coming and like killing me, and I would sleep with the covers up over my neck at night all the time. And then I had, I don't know, it was probably one of my brothers who said, well, like bats are mostly fruit bats where they eat insects, but the ones that actually suck blood, they just suck from your feet, so it's fine. So it's like my feet need to be covered at all times now.
Why are brothers like that? That's not helpful.
But that's what I got from my handy dandy book, and then I had to go off and look further. So I have my exercise book, which is about Machu Picchu right now, and they're trying to tour into Machu Picchu.
Exercise book is, and you read it while you're exercising, not a book about exercise.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So as they're walking, he started talking about how some of the locals, the people that live there, are kind of scared of white people still, like, to this day because of like colonization, and also because a lot of people back in the day when like Cortez was showing up and stuff thought that they were Pishtacos because they have been described as white men or white strangers. And so,
as if you needed another reason to be scared of white men.
Well, and the legend dates back to that time period is when the Spanish conquest of South America was happening. And the word Pishtaco comes from Pishtay, which means behead and cut the throat. So it's like another get at the blood kind of thing. And body fat in the Andes region, pre-Hispanic people that lived there had a deity called Viracocha, which means sea of fat.
Oh.
So there was fat was kind of venerated, and body fat was really important and special and stuff. And there was also, when the conquistadors came through, they had a practice of treating their wounds with their enemies' corpses' fats.
That's intense.
Yeah. So that's that's horrific for anyone, but that was another layer of horrific for the people that lived there. There was also like rumors of people, like the people who came in and like colonized using like people fats to oil church bells to make them sound better, to oil their weapons, to like using these like people's body fat for their own like, I don't know, personal uses. Which again went to the idea that they were Pishtacos, these like vampires that would go and take fat and then blood and for their own like self-use and stuff. Like even to this day, the U.S. Food for Peace program is rejected in many of these areas down there because locals fear that the real reason that they want to go in there is to fatten children up to exploit them for their fat.
Oh, how sad.
Yeah. Survey geologists have been attacked by people that live there because, again, they believe that they were Pishtacos. So, like, it's really sad that, like, that colonization turned, like, the fear, you know, because obviously there's a lot of trauma there. Yeah.
Wow.
It's like the legend from that kind of really heavy topic, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. That is some deep history, too.
Yeah.
It all goes back to white colonizers every fucking time.
But I thought that was really crazy that they thought that they like oiled church bells to make them sound better.
Was that a thought or was that something they actually did? Please tell me that was just a thought.
I would need to do more research to know for sure if they did that, but that was at least an assumption.
Where do you even start that research?
Right?
Well, I'm going to take a little break from talking about live mermaids.
Oh.
And we're going to talk about a couple of mermaid mummies.
What?
Yep, just two specifically. So, and we'll touch pretty lightly on them because there's actually a ton of, quote, mermaid mummy lore or sightings. But we're going to talk about just a couple of them. One that I'm going to be talking about specifically is the Ningyo mummy. Now, this just had a development in 2022, so it's actually pretty recent. So the Ningyo mummy was found in a sealed wooden box in a Japanese temple in Okayama Prefecture. So kind of the lore of a Ningyo. So this was an actual mummy that was found in a box in a temple in Japan. And it was labeled as a Ningyo mummy. And what a Ningyo is, because there's a lot of lore and stories behind them, is a fish-like creature with a human head. Oh. Now, this is more fish than human. For sure. Like, we're not talking long, pretty hair, arms, boobies, none of that. Just fish with human head, basically. So these creatures were said to be able to cure diseases and grant immortality if you consumed their flesh.
Oh, dear.
But caveat, anyone who attempts to capture or hurt a Ningyo, which you have to do to get their flesh, is going to have a very bad curse laid upon them. So in fact, exactly. And so there are, legends talking about how one fisherman would go out to get a Ningyo to cure either himself or a loved one, and he would come back with the body and his entire town would be wiped out by like an earthquake or a tidal wave. There were several of these stories.
Oof.
Yes. So specifically, we're talking about the one that was found in that Japanese temple. It is about 12 inches long. And the interesting thing about that, though, is Ningyo lore also talks about varying sizes, including one that's 11 meters long with horns.
Whoa.
So this one in a box is apparently a very small one.
I was going to say, that's tiny. How do you have a face on it?
Right. It's just a little thing. Little tiny face. This one did have teeth and some hair. It also had really creepy looking eye sockets if you pull up pictures of it, and a fish tail. It did have kind of hand-like appendages, and the hands were like laying on the side of its face. Kind of like the little, the artwork with the scream artwork.
Oh,
I don't know what it's called. But
it's an Edvard Munch
sure.
painting. Yep, the scream.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. So this Ningyo actually was originally displayed in a glass case and worshipped, and then about 40 years ago was taken out of the glass case and stored in that sealed wooden box that it was lately found in. when researchers went and took it out of the wooden box with permission from the temple priests, they found a note with it or some information, and it claimed that the Niño had been caught between 1736 and 1741, and it was brought back and worshipped as a sign of immortality and longevity. In 2022, though, these scientists were able to use X-rays, CT, radiocarbon dating, electron microscopy, and DNA analysis. It's not that old.
Oh.
It actually dated to as early as like the 1800s.
Okay.
So still old, but about 100 years more
Later,
recent than they thought. And it was actually likely fabricated to trick wealthy people into donating money and kind of a, look, worship this, it will make you live forever. When they did all those tests with the x-rays and CT, they found that the torso was actually made of cloth and metal pins. And when you look at the pictures, when I read the article initially, I'm like, how did people think that was real? Like, come on. But it does look real. I never would have thought it was made out of this. It was painted with sand and a charcoal mix and covered with mammal hair and fish scales. The jaws and teeth are also from a fish, too, like a deep sea fish that has really creepy looking teeth. The nails are some type of a keratin, but they're unidentified as to what animal it came from. But since it's keratin, it's some type of mammal, likely.
Sure.
And I don't know if it was the same Niño mummy, but one of these, there are several mermaid mummies or mermaid sideshow creations. One that was seen, this is kind of a fun little note from uncannyjapan.com, was that one of these mummies had a string rolled up really, really tightly and shoved in its head, and it looked like a brain on the CT scan. So it really freaked out scientists. And then little quick add-on to that is kind of the famous mermaid mummy that I knew about was the Fiji mermaid. So that was originally displayed in Barnum's American Museum in New York in 1842. So that's P.T. Barnum.
Whoa.
So the Greatest Showman, except he was actually a really bad guy.
Yeah.
And was kind of a liar. This one was about 3 feet long, but he displayed it in his museum as a sideshow attraction. This is a real mermaid. Come look at it. It was actually the head and torso of a juvenile monkey sewn to the tail of a fish.
Aww.
Yeah. So just another kind of scam that P.T. Barnum had. There were many recreations of the specific item after that. So this one was originally displayed in 1842, and afterwards there were dozens of other circuses who jumped on that bandwagon. But the original one, it's unknown where it went to. It was assumed it was destroyed in one of the many fires that they had to deal with. So that's the most likely. But that's the story of 2 mermaid mummies. There are tons more out there. If there's any that you know specifically and want to write in, I'm happy to cover them. But those were just 2 that popped up, and I thought they were interesting. So,
cool.
Yeah, that's what I have this week.
That's a bit short. I talked really fast. So
I know. We went quick. What's our sign off? Cover your necks and watch your tails.
Obscurantism and obfuscation.
Orally observed, gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Gentle listener.
Obviated objects of oblivion.
Obambulating about.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
Offered unto you.
In the Tapestry Radio Network.
TapestryRadio.org.
From our fancy to yours.